Hello and welcome to the Discover WellBeing Podcast. I'm your host, Allison Adams, and today's episode is all about reclaiming women's menstrual health, secrets and solutions with Jennifer Beck. Jen is a visionary female leader and a tech-savvy entrepreneur with 15 plus years of experience in driving growth and innovation. After leading marketing efforts at several Denver tech companies, she founded Cannabase, a groundbreaking platform in Colorado's cannabis industry, which she later sold to a public company. Now Jen channels her passion into Jihi, a woman-powered wellness brand aimed at enhancing women's lives through innovative technology. Jen is a Denver, Colorado native, and she's been featured in Bloomberg, Forbes, New York Times, and more. Before I get into the conversation with Jen, I want to let you know this is one of my favorite episodes. It's all around women's menstrual health, but it's so much more because Jen comes from a holistic spiritual perspective, which then she marries with technology. It's also a favorite because it's an inclusive conversation. So if you're one of my male listeners, stay tuned, and I invite you to share it with every man you know, because it will change your relationships with women. This is a conversation that can be carried over into our homes, our friend groups, with doctors, and possibly into the workplace to support one another in creating a ripple effect of health and well-being in relationships and life. Jen is on the cutting edge of something incredible in the FemTech industry. So let's get into the podcast so she can unpack everything she's ready to share. Jen, welcome to the show. I'm so excited for you to share your journey and your amazing company, Jihi.
Thank you for having me. I'm so happy to be here.
I would love to have you start, being that the podcast is all around health, wellness, transformation. How do you see well-being playing into the topic of conversation?
Yeah, to me, well-being is really about a quest of how do we live in alignment. So alignment with our bodies, alignment with the seasons of life, the changes that run through us, and then alignment with our values and our authentic self. And I think that's really the vision of Jihi is it's technology as a support tool, but you're on this journey to reconnect with you. And we hope and believe that the more and more aligned you become with yourself, the more balance and vibrance you're going to feel.
Truly a holistic approach.
Absolutely.
Yeah, so beautiful. Where would you like to jump in, helping people understand a little bit of your journey and your inspiration behind co-founding this company?
Yeah, so my story, it sounds unique, but the more I talk about it, it's really not. I have had a complicated relationship with my body since puberty. So high school, I had very severe eating disorders. Ever since my menstrual years, I've had something called PMDD, which is a really extreme form of PMS that really takes you to the point of clinical depression or anxiety for me, up to 30% of the month. And after I had my daughter, when I was in my early 30s, I had postpartum hypothyroidism. So my thyroid completely crashed. And what's really interesting is that as a lifetime seeker, someone who's been incredibly proactive about my health, I was a psychology major. I care a lot about personal development and optimizing my performance. There really weren't a lot of tools available for me throughout any of these ups and downs. And it actually wasn't until it was in my early 30s, and every month around my period, I would break out really badly. Like I would get cystic acne. And that was the thing, right? Because it's our vanity. Everyone could see me, all the internal struggles. Okay. But the pimples were embarrassing. And that finally led me to a functional medicine practitioner. And this functional medicine practitioner, I call it the Cosmo quiz. She said, "What's going on?" I gave her 5 symptoms, mostly these pimples. But around my period, I'm bloated, I'm depressed, I'm anxious, and in general, I'm losing my hair and I don't have a great sex drive. And these are consistent with the types of complaints women often bring to their doctor's offices. And doctors go, "What do you want me to do? Go get some sleep." I don't know, right? But that's the difference with functional medicine. Functional medicine looks more holistically at these symptoms. And she said, in an instant, "You sound estrogen dominant." This moment almost gave me anger because I had never even heard this phrase before. I didn't know this was something I could Google. Like, what does that mean, right? What is estrogen dominance? So she ordered me an at-home hormone test. It was a urine test called the Dutch test. We tested my hormones. It's all cash-based. Functional medicine largely sits outside the healthcare system, and it tends to be, that's what makes it more inaccessible. It's fantastic and it's holistic, but it tends to cost thousands of dollars. So I bought this out-of-pocket cash test, and the results came in, and they were clear as day. My estrogen was extremely high, and my progesterone was extremely low. These hormones operate as a ratio. So progesterone has a mitigating effect on estrogen. So if your estrogen's really high, then you need that progesterone to offset it, especially in the second half of your cycle. But I, like many, many, many women, had progesterone in the gutter. So my estrogen levels were just off the charts. This is estimated to impact up to 80% of women in their 30s, leading to tons of uncomfortable symptoms. All the things I was describing, right? These horrible periods or this hair loss or this lack of libido, like things that, maybe to the medical system aren't that important, but to us, really intrinsic to our quality of life, our relationship with ourselves. So then she gives me my treatment plan, and the learning continued. There wasn't anything on this treatment plan that was medical. It was all lifestyle. It was eliminating wheat. It was dramatically cutting down on exercise the second half of the month. I, like many good women, I say that with air quotes, thought that I could bike my way through my PMS and I could flush it out of my system. Turns out I was really stressing my body out and adding to this pool of estrogen. And then it involved ways to basically bring down my inflammation through diet and help detoxify this extra estrogen in my system. And then later I added a little topical progesterone, which also helped. And, within a few months, my hormones balanced, and it was validated by a follow-up Dutch test. And then I learned that this idea of hormone balancing, or seeing our hormones as a lens for how our lifestyle, our biology, how our body is performing and feeling on a daily basis, is an ongoing journey. And it's a lot of work, but it's also a journey of coming back home. And it changed my life. And as a technologist, I saw an opportunity to make this process more accessible, that you really don't need to get into an office for $2,000 to get that Cosmo quiz, right? And so that began the Jihi journey.
If I'm hearing you correctly, that was the inspiration for you to make it available for the masses.
Exactly. So what we saw is, so this is really interesting. Throughout time, men have always called women like unpredictable, right? We're so unpredictable. We're so chaotic. And then, it's just maybe you're on your period, right? That's how we get treated. But actually, women's hormones are much more predictable than men's. So men operate on a 24-hour hormonal cycle. Every day they wake up and it restarts. The difference is we are on this, roughly 28, 30-day hormonal cycle. So we go through one cycle, but it goes over the course of a month. It really mirrors the moon versus the man, the patriarchy mirrors more of the sun, the rising and setting of the sun and that consistency. But along that 30-day axis, our hormones are extremely predictable, and the impact they're going to have on our mood, on our gut health, on our appetite, on our behavior, on our sleep can all be mapped. It's just a little bit complicated to map that data. Men, on the other hand, are completely unpredictable. To understand a man's testosterone level, you have to test him. A man's testosterone goes down after he has kids, but it goes up if he sees a gun. It goes up if he sees an attractive woman. I mean, it's completely random according to his experience that day. And then it just restarts the next day. And so as I dove deeper into the world of hormone health and saw how many women are embracing this idea of syncing their lifestyle and behaviors with their natural rhythms to unlock this greater state of being, we saw this opportunity to map more of this data at scale and provide that daily visibility to women to say, oh, here's where I am. Oh, here's how I can make best use of today. Here's how I can live in harmony. And then on a deeper level, as women are engaging with our platform, we're aggregating symptom data, we're aggregating cycle data, and that allows us to do what I'm really passionate about, which is flag when the check engine light is on. We are so used to being sold the story that, oh, that's just life. You're going to be tired. Your hair's going to fall out. I don't know, right? Like that's just, especially as women age, we become more and more dismissed, and we're really expected to tolerate a certain level of discomfort that when it transitions into an issue, we tend to not know. I had postpartum hypothyroidism for 6 months and cried to multiple doctors before my thyroid got tested. I actually didn't get diagnosed until I had shingles. 6 months later, I broke out in shingles at 32 years old. And finally, someone looked at my thyroid levels. So the idea behind Jihi is to give this day-to-day visibility. But in the back end, we're beginning to do the work of saying, hey, based on your age and stage, something feels a little out of range here. You do need a little extra support. Let's dive deeper.
Ah, so incredible. Jen, take us through the journey, if you would.
Thank you. Yes, absolutely. So all you have to do to maintain your Jihi account is to log your bleed once a month, which is a practice many cycling women are familiar with, right? Keeping a cycle calendar. And now to that, I want to have an aside to say your data is very, very safe with us. So we are a woman-owned company. We are in a HIPAA-compliant platform. So your data is really, really, really safe. And at the core of this company and its mission is feminism and is activism. And it is about providing these insights and these tools to the women who use it. It's about creating a safe space for women. So your data will never be sold, never will be shared, is encrypted. And I always say that our vision is to build something massive and something really powerful, but the only hill we will ever die on is the hill of our users' data. So let's start there. But that aside, all we need from you is that monthly practice of logging your bleed. And logging your bleed begins to calibrate your month of insights. So every day you can log into Jihi and you'll see energy levels, gut health, appetite, negotiating power. You can see how your body is processing caffeine and alcohol by day. One of the largest causes of hormonal imbalance, we hear it all the time, is caffeine and alcohol. But someone like me, I'm not giving it up. So some people go, I'm gonna do it all right and I'm giving it up. I'm not giving it up. So how do I live with it? How do I live in this body? So you log into Jihi and you can see some days, hey, a little bit of caffeine is actually going to really boost my focus and help me get a lot done. Other days it's going to say, drink coffee at your own risk. You're not metabolizing it as well. It's going to exacerbate PMS symptoms and your sleep is already in trouble. So insights, visibility. Then on a deeper level, what we have in Jihi is a place for you to set your goals, whether your goals are losing weight, boosting brain health, boosting bone health, increasing energy and libido, clearing your skin. And then we have a place for you to set your dietary preferences. So often, as women move through these self healing journeys, there are times where we practice different types of food elimination. At the time that I was postpartum hypothyroid, I also had a baby with dairy and soy allergies. This is very common. A lot of babies under age 1, up to 10% have dairy and soy allergies. So at the time I was navigating this hormonal crisis, and I was eliminating dairy and soy from my diet, which was making it really challenging to eat. At the beginning of my hormone balancing journey later on, I had to give up wheat for a long time. I still eat a largely wheat-free diet, about 80-20. And then we know women are targeting, a lot of protein, which is fantastic. These are our muscle building years. So you can input all these dietary preferences, goals, as well as your cycle data. And we are going to use those to calibrate your nutrition recommendations. We're going to serve up meals perfect for you today, and those will change tomorrow. We're serving up meditations that are grounding for you. We're serving up exercises that are perfect for you. So it's about leaning into where your body is that day and supporting yourself in a way that really feels so good.
Being able for the woman to feel empowered, but also for men to start to relate to her in a different way. And maybe there's a workplace initiative that really cares about women and their after pregnancy or the workplace culture. And rather than having divisions of the sexes, you have a unity. I see your platform just having this ripple effect of impact for everyone that is supporting the woman, so she gets additional support. Have you found any of that to
Absolutely.
be
I
true?
mean, all of it to be true. I mean, so it begins with visibility and it begins with language, right? We see that in any situation where something has been underground, that first we start to see it and then we start to put language to it and then we start to understand it and then we can live with it better. And women are half of our population. They are half of our workforce. They make 80% of healthcare decisions. They make 85% of spending decisions. Women are a huge driving force. And I think the shift is, and what really sets Jihi apart is we're really interested in looking at the whole woman outside of just fertility. Fertility is such an important, beautiful, sacred, and sometimes extremely complicated journey. But, of all digital health investment that we saw in 2023, I think was the last big study, less than 3% of that digital health investment went to FemTech, products geared around the female body. And what we know is that women have a really almost completely unique experience in our bodies compared to our male counterparts. And so that very limited funding goes largely to fertility support. And Jihi, on the other hand, is really interested in looking at what we call the 360-degree view of a woman. We want to understand kind of these things I keep saying, like, how does enthusiasm change by day? How does patience change by day? How does creativity change? And for men to have insight into that, to not make it about a period and a bleed, like that's so, I don't want to say it's irrelevant, but it's almost irrelevant. It's a tool that we use to track and to mark. But these cycles are about a blueprint, an actual blueprint that you can use to dive into the psyche, the internal landscape of your wife, of your mother, of your daughters, of your coworkers, in a way that enables you and her to work with where she is that day. Women are very powerful creators, and we are very powerful in the workforce. And it's not all good and bad. There's this idea with women's cycles that it's like, okay, sometimes we're really good and then sometimes we're bad. Sometimes we're just bitchy and we're down. And so learn how to navigate it, boys. That's not it at all. When we really map the data, I think one of my favorite things I found was that in that late luteal, so that premenstrual phase that we're all so afraid of, is when women peak in negotiating power. And when I was in a place in my life where I was really struggling with PMDD, that means that in that time of the month, I was feeling so awful that I really didn't trust myself. I would hide. And that's a shame because now, in a place of more balance, it's not, I still have a premenstrual phase, but I also know that that's a time when when I'm cutting loose ends. It's a time where I'm coming back to the negotiating table and say, hey, are we doing this or not? Let's get this done. It's a time when my team loves me. It's a time when I can handle things. It's a time when I get all my bookkeeping done. My attention to detail is phenomenal. I'm able to focus for long periods of time. Luteal premenstrual Jen is an enormous asset to my team, to my family, and to myself. And that beginning of the month, Jen, is also an asset, but she's different. She's much more collaborative. She's let's go make deals, let's all go connect. But I'll tell you what, if I was that, I'm doing air quotes again, good Jen the whole month, I'd never get anything done. I would never pay my bills. I would never close a deal. I would never have the hard conversations. In the cycle is where we find this balance. And so for men to feel like to have just like for a woman to have no visibility is really challenging. We go, why did I feel so good? And now I'm walking away from the table. Well, because this is the full expression of you and your cycle. This is good. Let's ride that wave. And then similarly, as an extension for men, if you're just flying blind, you feel like she's changing on me every day. This is unpredictable. My buddies aren't like this. The men aren't like this. I can't trust her, right? Like there's all these repercussions. Instead, to start to have language. I always know we're turning the corner with cycle planning when a woman first says to me, she's luteal. Luteal is the second half of the month. And we don't tend to learn about what it means to be luteal. And you know, a woman's been in Jihi and she's been using it, but she starts to go, oh, I'm luteal. And if a woman and her husband could communicate that way, oh, I'm luteal. But guess what, honey? I closed money. Like we're all enjoying this ride now. Instead of bearing it all, pretending we're little men, burning ourselves out. Then we blame it on him. He feels unfairly attacked, and everyone's just a mess. And it's no one's fault. No one had the tools, no one had the visibility, no one had the language to navigate it with seniority.
How has this changed your relationship? You're married with a daughter. How has this changed your relationship with your husband and the family?
It's everything. So my husband is my co-founder. He is a brilliant full stack programmer. And so him and I have been working together to build this platform. The first year was just us and then Megan, who is our COO, and she's built our recipes and she's a brilliant digital marketer. But it was really the three of us mapping the data, building the platform and building out this vision. And Chase is a hero to spend all this time building this tool for us, for women. But honestly, I've always said, first of all, marry a programmer. They're brilliant and they're too smart to be misogynistic. They're just a fantastic breed of humans. But in that same vein, he's an incredibly logical human. Like the thing Chase and I fight about is, that I didn't fold the dish towel right and the air is not going to move properly, right? He's like an extremely logical man. And for an extremely logical man to sit in the seat of building this for now close to 2 years, he sees it as really a no-brainer. Like he really sees it as a service for all, for men, for women, to continue making sense of and surfacing this data and providing holistic health solutions. And he knows that when I am supported, in balance, not pushing against myself, that I am happy and I'm on fire and I have a sex drive and my body feels good, and he loves that Jen. And he also knows that when I lose touch with myself and I push hard and I turn off the app and I just start going into I'm a little man mode, our marriage is the first thing to suffer because I come home broken down, broken out, anxious, doubting everything. And he now has the wisdom to know that in my all these things I do for self-care, my acupuncture, the time I need to spend alone, the meals I need to cook, is joy and love and support and vibrance for our whole family. It's like it's his wife back. And so it's all of us. It impacts all of us.
Thank you for sharing so transparently, because I wasn't fully aware of how involved your husband was in the project. And the other thing you mentioned with FemTech, are you beginning to see that FemTech as a industry is becoming more mainstream for doctors to recommend, say, Jihi or other platforms out there to support their patients?
I wish the answer to that was yes, but the answer to that is no. I think I think no. I think we have increasing, everything is changing, right? Like real time, we're living in a world where everything is changing rapidly. And in that, there are healers, there are people who are really embracing the idea of finding the root causes of discomfort. And we see these longevity movements. And there is definitely a greater acceptance and understanding of the women's data gap and the fact that we are not physiologically little men, that we do need this support. So I am an entrepreneur, but I am also first and foremost a feminist. And that comes from a place of really recognizing that we live in a system that has been built by and designed for men. And that is not always malicious. It's not about pushing women down, but it's about the fact that we aren't often in the room when these systems were created or are created. And so the systems aren't always designed for us. And healthcare is one of those systems. In the Western medical system operates on an axis of diagnosis. So when an issue is diagnosed, that's what the doctor can code, and that's what opens up payments with the insurance company. It is the engine that keeps everything moving. And when we're talking about these areas of women's health that Jihi is operating so much in, a lot of it falls below the threshold of diagnosis. I am bloated with pimples and not wanting to have sex is not a diagnosable issue. That's called being a woman. And so we are operating in the world of wellness. And the group that's really emerged to support us in terms of lab testing and communicating with traditional medical providers is this functional medicine space, which kind of sits in the middle between wellness and healthcare providers. So our goal is to build a highly credible, data-driven system with that is HIPAA compliant, that can communicate with medical professionals and help a user build that care team. But I think it is really up to women to self-advocate. If less than 2% of all funding goes towards women founders, within the scope of all digital health funding, less than 3% goes to products towards women. So there's a system that does not fund and empower these solutions. Women also find themselves systematically pushed out of roles in leadership and in tech. So as a whole, we see a lot of white space, which is great from a business perspective, but from a feminist perspective, there's so much work to be done. And I think it's up to us to build things for us. It's up to us to take care of each other. Women are amazing healers. It's up to us to build systems and structures where we can share our knowledge and support each other safely. And then it's up to us to do the work. Jihi can't do the work for you. Jihi is like a virtual dojo. You walk in and it's like walking into the yoga studio. Now you gotta do yoga. And if you log into Jihi every day and you develop more insight into yourself, more caring and compassion for yourself. You see the thing that says, hey, today, maybe it's not workout day, maybe it's nap day. And you say yes to that nap. Slowly, I hope women learn how to stand up for themselves. Because I think for a lot of women, telling their husband, I'm going to go take a nap is a form of activism. I think a lot of women saying, this grocery list was generated based on my hormonal needs this week, and I found meals that the whole family's going to love, but this reflects my needs. Or a woman saying, I'm going to go spend $100 on acupuncture because my inflammation is having all these downstream effects that are really making X, Y, and Z hard in my life, and I need that. This is all self advocating. And I think as we self advocate, we become stronger. And then we need tools to communicate with our doctors and to show them that we understand our bodies and that what we're doing is proactive. And this doesn't mean I have a dear friend who's a doctor, and we had a really candid conversation. And she said, Jen, when people come in that are kind of like you, these wellness people that do their own labs and they know their body, we tend to kind of think, okay, like, did you vaccinate your children? And what else are you doing? And so the entire world of wellness and women's health has been lumped into woo woo and pseudoscience that then I think it's a reclaiming. Jihi has a lot of science, and we're about to roll out at-home lab testing, and we have meals built by nutritionists, but we also have a 3D moon, and it changes with the days because I want women to remember that they literally align with the moon, and they are magic, and it is bigger than their doctor. It is bigger than their husband. It is different than these politics. It is bigger than everything. We are cosmic, amazing beings, and we deserve our cycle. I don't hold myself anymore to getting something done every day for 30 days. I give myself a cycle. I give myself every 30 days to create, ship, rewrite, relook at, cut out what's not working, and get it out the door. And for a lot of women, that's scary. 30 days is a long time. But if you actively create every 30-day cycle, whoa, what you can accomplish is beyond belief.
Yes. Well, there are a couple points in there that, having the system at large, like the medical system, we know that in the US it's vastly different than in other countries and how they support their women and the protocol. But I'm even talking about like your OBGYN has an experience with Jihi, and she's like, oh my gosh, I can simply mention in a visit, have you heard of Jihi yet? Like, it doesn't have anything to do with billing or being compensated. I'm talking about her looking at her patient and saying, this might be something to explore, going back to self-empowerment.
Oh, 1000%.
Yes. So I see Jihi as spiritual FemTech, but I'm imagining Jihi is not the only tracker out there for hormones and things like that. Can you share how you're different?
Yeah. So, there are a lot of period apps. Jihi is not a period app. We are a platform. So it's a lot, you're using a very active tool set. So I like to say when you're first getting used to it, log on desktop. Log in desktop and really get to know your plan, really get to know your seasons, look at your calendar, populate your history, lean in. And then you can use your phone to see insights on the go or track your sleep, log a bleed, do what you need to do. But Jihi is one of a kind. Jihi is a completely dynamic lifestyle plan for women. So this comes back to the idea of reducing that barrier to entry, where you typically, the current way, if a woman says, I can't take it anymore, She's going to go to that functional medicine doc. She's going to get started, usually $2,000 to $5,000. She's going to get some tests, and she's going to get a PDF at the end, a static treatment plan like I got that says, here's what to do. Here's how you're going to eat. Here's how you're going to exercise. And she's going to go back on her way. So to me, it's too expensive and it's not enough. We have a vision where Jihi, the platform, is free. Anyone can use it. It is a completely free platform. It is invite only. So you need to go to our website and sign up for beta. There's a form, and then we will invite you. It's really important to us that this is a safe, controlled space, but everyone is welcome. So when you're in Jihi, now you're using it first like a quote unquote period tracker. You're tracking your period and you're seeing where you are each day, but you're getting much more. You're seeing all of these insights. You're seeing recipes. You have a huge meditation library. You have a dynamic cycle planning tool. There's so much to explore. And then, like I was explaining before, in the back end, we're beginning to do the work where we will flag if that check engine light is on. We will flag if something feels out of range. And we'll be rolling out next week, they go live, a full suite of at-home blood spot lab tests. So we have wellness, sleep and stress, advanced sleep and stress, preconception panels, pregnancy wellness panels that work in conjunction with your OBGYN to see your nutrient levels and to look at early indicators of, gestational diabetes. We have anti-aging. We have so many amazing blood tests, metabolic. So you're struggling to lose weight, or you're struggling to sleep, or you're pregnant and you want to be proactive. These tests are, because we are a tech company and the way we were able to structure the system, we're able to bring the cost way down. So when I got that Dutch test that I told you about, that test wholesales gets sold to the practitioner for about $300. Many of them mark it up to about $500. But then you also need to be engaged with that functional medicine practitioner, and you need to get your results read. So usually you're in for about $1,000. Our comparable test is our Jihi Wellness Panel. Our wellness panel is $250 all in. So you pay $250, we send it to your house. Now, it is slightly less complex than the Dutch test, but it's going to give all those same insights if there's something going on or not. And for the majority of women, and for my use case, it would have been more than enough. Now, if that test flags, whoa, there's something very seriously wrong here, then of course our next step is to refer you to the medical system. Now, maybe you really do need to go spend the $2,000 and work with a functional medicine provider, or go to your OBGYN and really dive into what's going on. But I think for the majority of women, it's a lifestyle path, and you don't need to have ever spent that. Now we can actually calibrate your recommendations in Jihi based on these biomarkers. We have health coaches available. You can get a one-on-one with a live functional medicine doc, and you can do it all here, a la carte, self-serve. We call it choose your own adventure. And Jihi to us is a place that you can live, quote unquote, live throughout your cycling years. And you can tune in for extra help as you need it. Men tend to have a very linear aging experience. They're just aging and it just happens. And then as they start aging, they want more support. Women, we have these ebbs and flows. We're going to have a baby, or we're in our 30s, so our estrogen is high, or all of a sudden we're perimenopause and everything is wonky, or we're menopausal and our estrogen is low. So we go through these humps where sometimes things are going kind of all right, and now all of a sudden I'm not sleeping, I'm putting on weight, I'm feeling really anxious. So Jihi is a place that you can live, can be that home base. And when suddenly you want support, you can opt into it. You can get that test. You can get that one-on-one with a health coach. And then all of that data is available in a HIPAA compliant environment, so that if you do want to share it with your MD, you want to share it with your acupuncturist, you can build that health team. So it's a portal for whole body health, dynamic treatment plans that work with women through all ages and stages. It's really a whole health women's platform powered by this cycle syncing technology. There's never been anything like it.
I love the whole health women's platform. That is phenomenal. If you could share how women who are non-cycling, how does Jihi fit in to their life?
Absolutely. So we have non-cycling accounts. There's a few types of non-cycling, right? So we have non-cycling for a while because you're pregnant or you're breastfeeding. We have different levels of non-cycling for women on hormonal birth control. So we have women that are on IUDs, so they don't have a traditional cycle, but they say, I know when I'm getting my period, quote unquote. I know, I can feel it. So they kind of have still attuned to those underlying cycles, even though it's being masked quite a bit with the birth control. And then we have actually non-cycling women who have gone through menopause and their cycles are over. Jihi is for all women. And we're not inventing anything. You can see, if for those watching the video, my office is really a bookstore. It's filled with women's health books. And I think for a lot of women, the reality of learning our bodies is still a diet book industry. Go buy a book and take the quiz and read about it and then do the recipes in the back and hope you figured it out. So what we did was we mapped all the books. We mapped all the books in a database format so that it's showing you what you need to know when. You don't need to go, like, let's talk about Feminism 101. You don't need to go sit and read 30 books. We can build something that can tell you where you are. This is 2025. Women deserve better. So in the world of cycle syncing for women, this has been a huge trend recently, but there have been women doing it forever, which is the idea of eating and moving in conjunction with our monthly cycles. In the world of cycle syncing, the way that it's handled if a woman does not have her own menstrual cycle is that her day one is the day of the new moon. We map them to the lunar cycle. And it's less scientific than being mapped to your own menstrual cycle, right? Like, we can't map your energy and your creativity with the moon the way we can map it if you're having these hormonal fluctuations. But it's incredibly powerful. It's incredibly powerful because women are cyclical creatures. If you've gone through menopause at 50, you spent the last 30 years cycling. Your body has spent the last 30 years in these rhythms, and these rhythms really mirror the moon. So let's just take 1 minute and talk about how magical our cycles are and how they mirror the world around us. Our cycles have 4 distinct phases. It starts with the menstrual. So day 1 is the first day of our bleed. That's why we log bleed and we have our menstrual. Then, as our period is over, we move into our follicular phase. And then we ovulate. And then we go into our luteal phase. So let me go through these really quickly. The menstrual phase is like the new moon. It's when the sky is dark. And it's also like the inner winter of the body. It's a time of going inward. It's a time of releasing what no longer serves us. It's a time of housekeeping. It's a time when the outer sky is dark, and it's a time to shine the light inside and really hear our inner truth. The veil is thin between us and our inner wisdom. And if we've been pushing a lot of things down the whole last cycle and not being honest with ourselves, we find that they're going to appear during that time of the month. If we're living in more harmony, it's not as messy. It can be a little more fun. It's a time of great insights and of really envisioning the cycle ahead. Then we move into the follicular phase. The follicular phase is the inner spring of the body. It's when our hormone levels begin rising, our energy begins to boost, our creativity is high. We're starting now to go plant. The seeds have been planted of this new cycle and they're starting to blossom, and it's very exciting, and it's new life like spring. And it's just like the moon, where now the waxing moon, we begin to see that light again. And this all peaks at ovulation. Ovulation is when the egg is released. It is like the inner summer of the body. And it also is like the full moon in the sky. It is when it's fun, right? It's when we want to dance in the moonlight. We have lots of energy. And that's by design. When we're ovulating is when we are at our most attractive, our most charismatic, because it's our time to get pregnant. And so our bodies are saying yes. But, like all things, like summer and like getting pregnant, there are 2 sides to ovulation. It's easy to think, oh, I wish I was just always ovulating, Jen, and my prettiest and my most fun. But also ovulation can be a time of unexpected some cramping, some breast tenderness, also anxiety, overstimulation, trouble focusing, a time of too many possibilities, right? At the full moon, I say everything is illuminated, and it's not always things that we want to keep in our lives. So then we move to the luteal phase. The luteal is the inner fall. It is a time of beginning to let go. It's a time of pulling inward. And there are hormonal repercussions of this. If we don't get enough alone time during our luteal phase, it inhibits progesterone production, and we're going to have a more uncomfortable period. We feel the desire to pull away, and listening to that desire supports healthy hormone levels. The luteal phase is something that I have come to embrace. I used to not like it because I thought I was not as fun, or I was, whatever. Now I've learned luteal is when my attention to detail is through the roof. I can get my accounting done. It's when you close up those projects. It's when you say all those things that were illuminated in the full moon. What are the things that gave me anxiety? And it's time to get those off my plate. It's time to create space for the cycle ahead and let go of what is not in alignment. So it's the inner fall. And it's just like that. We go from the full moon to this waning moon, to the light begins to decrease until we hit again menstruation, the dark moon, the inner winter. So by our non-cycling accounts, so it was a long-winded way of saying our non-cycling accounts eliminate the menstrual layer, but they connect the woman to the moon. And so she can stay connected to this seasonal living throughout the month and continue living, creating, and cultivating as the woman she is.
The powerful.
And then, last thing I want to say too, it's so powerful. And for these non-cycling women, the blood tests are going to really be a huge asset as well, because, over half of our tests are applicable for cycling, non-cycling women and men, if men wanted to take them. So, the stress test, the metabolic test, all of these still apply to a non-cycling woman, and she can still tune in, optimize her diet, and help regulate her body.
Wow. Do you suggest doing the tests for someone who is cycling on a quarterly basis?
That's a great question. Okay. I would say if there's something that you're really working on, let's do a test and then test again in 3 months and really see our progress and see how things are going. If you're in more of a maintenance stage, one of the greatest gifts I think Jihi can bring is this idea of this accessible testing and a place to store and make sense of that data. So for women to have hormonal benchmarks is a huge, huge gift that the traditional medical system does not really give us access to, right? They're not just going to be doing voluntary hormone tests once a year. But through Jihi, that's something I would love for you to do for many reasons, but one of which is we really know that hormone replacement therapy, which actually will be available through Jihi for those who want it in this Choose Your Own Adventure, is the future probably of medicine. But what we know is that hormone replacement therapy is safer and more effective if you make a smooth landing. With your own hormone levels are going down, you begin supplementing. And in our reactive culture, where women aren't given the opportunity to have any of this visibility or to test our hormones, what happens is we wait until things are so unbearable. And then there's a throttling of the body where, hey, it looks like your hormones crashed a long time ago, and now you want to start putting estrogen back into your system. It's not going to be as effective. It's not as safe. So one of the gifts I think we can give women is this idea of hormonal benchmarks through the lifespan, so that when they choose, if and when they ever choose to have some sort of intervention, that can be done in a way that's holistic and with knowledge of their own internal landscape, not just throwing darts at the wall, which is really the state of things right now.
Well, I've had countless friends and women that I've just had conversations with say that they weren't effective. So all the more reason to start with Jihi and have a history and have those check-ins and then take back your body.
Back your body. Yeah. Build this care team. Be here.
Yes.
It's free. It's for you.
Wow. So your bigger vision for the company is that, I don't want to put words in your mouth, so I'm going to let you describe it, but I feel like Jihi's in its infancy. And you have so many visions for the future. So can you share what that might look like?
Jihi is an absolute baby right now. And so, and we are growing rapidly. So, it's not going to be for everyone because it's early stage, but for people who really want to be part of something, people that want to be part of something that has the impact to really help them and help the world, especially right now, you are welcome in this tribe and to play with these tools and to be a piece of the foundation. But yes, our big vision, I mean, my big vision is a restoration of the feminine. I mean, it's to honor women. It's a world where girls can learn how to live in their bodies. And I don't feel that I ever was taught how to live in my body. I was taught how to disconnect from my body, how to override my body. The parts of me that wanted to be good, the parts of me that wanted to be perfect, the parts of me that wanted to be loved, and the parts of me that wanted to succeed really felt deeply on an intellectual level that my power came from my ability to beat my body. And that is a very destructive path. And it's not sustainable and it's not long term. And I always felt that wellness was this soft, woo woo thing for women who didn't like want to work and didn't want to, like, it was just like, we're just going to hang out and be well. And that's not me. I am an extremely hardworking, high achieving, I love to work and I love to think and I love to perform. And I felt that the only way I could be that person was to turn off my body. And this journey I've been on has not only allowed me to heal on a physical level, but it's shown me that when I live with my body, which sometimes means going really hard and sometimes means more permission for desserts, more permission for rest, more permission for love, and more permission, that I now perform at beyond a level I could have ever imagined. Pre Jihi Jen could not have built a company this demanding. Zero chance. Zero chance. And so that's the energy, that's the fire. Through our health, through our wellness, through our self understanding and our activism, I think we can feel good and we can really live and enjoy our bodies and paint a new picture for our daughters. Like this, it can be different. And there's a lot out there that is dark and is uncertain. But technology is really cool and really exciting. And for other reasons we've talked about in this podcast, haven't always been created for women. And when it is created for women, it's created so we can make a baby. And I want to create something that helps us live. And that's my vision, as a lot of happy, alive women.
Oh, Jen, you've touched my heart deeply. Thank you. No pressure, but Jihi is a platform that is going to shape the future. And with your radiance, your wisdom, and your experience, it is going to come into mainstream the conversation of seeing us as cyclical spiritual beings, and being able yet to perform at a higher level, be able to make more of an impact and to appreciate our bodies, to love our bodies, because when we disconnect, life is very empty and it almost feels non-existent. You have to be in touch with your body. And that's what I hear you giving the gift of. So thank you for being a guest today. Maybe you could share with the listeners how to get in for the beta.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Jihi.com. If you go to jihi.com, it says cycles sign up, cycles sign in. So go to the sign up and put your name in, and then we will follow up with an invite. And thank you for giving me this space and your incredible energy and wisdom and this space that you've built. We need each other so much. And I feel so honored to be here. And I think my message, I hope if there's anything, is just that it feels good to feel good. And women, you deserve to feel good. And men who love us and work with us, this isn't a period thing. This is about learning how to have healthy, happy mothers that raise happy, healthy children and bring our really unique, multidimensional minds into the workplace and just like a really better world for everyone. So you deserve to feel good. It feels good to feel good.
Well, I look forward to having you back in a year or so just to see how far you've come and the lives that have been touched. Thank you again, Jen.
Thank you.
Are you enjoying the Discover WellBeing podcast? If so, I would love to hear about it. Leaving a review helps more people find us and really makes a difference. So share your thoughts on Apple Podcast or your favorite platform.